Happy Monday. Good morning. I hope all of you had a really great Easter and had some time with your family. Even though we can't be with extended family as much as we like, we still get to be with our immediate family. I am doing a Zoom tomorrow at 2. So my little group that met last week, we all talked about wanting to do it a little later in the day because you guys like to sleep late, which is fine. Then we decided on Tuesday at 2. So I sent that link for your parents. If your parents didn't get it, let me know. Today we're going to be going over the last paper copies you have for our choice boards. The other ones I'm going to be sending this week. I'll probably send them, I would say before, probably around Thursday, I think, would be a good day to send them, because that way it doesn't overwhelm you, but you can also get started on it. I know my kids like to start on their work during the weekend because it makes it easier and you don't do so much during the day. So I'll definitely get those sent out to you. I have our paper answer copies done. I'm going to be typing them up and sending them through email to your parents today. So I'll remind them and let them know. Those of you who turned in your work, thank you. I think I got everybody's work. I think I'm just missing one or two assignments. And just make sure if you failed anything, you made below 70, that you do corrections and email them back to me. If you have parents that work or your parents don't understand the assignments, call me, message me, and we can get on the phone and we can work on those. So let's start talking with ELAR. So our must-dos again are going to be our selection quiz. So our selection quiz this week is winter bees. Okay, be careful with these because if you miss one, you're already at an 80. And if you miss two, then you're at a 60. So we're gonna be looking at these today. And then your reading passage, the reading passage is called Cookie Science. It's a nonfiction, I believe. And revising and editing. And I will say you guys did a really good job on the reading passage. What I saw we had trouble with was revising and editing. So when we work with colons are used, and if you watch the YouTube video, I gave an example that colons were being used to offset a list. So what that meant was, say for example, I said, for our Easter dinner last night, we had, and then I put the colon, the 2 dots, ham, dressing, broccoli, rice and cheese casserole, and apple cobbler. I was offsetting a list that was going to have regular commas in it. So I want to make sure that you really look at that one. So that's what we mostly missed on our reading passage. So let's go ahead and look at these for winter bees. So I want to code these with you before reading the story. And then that way they're already coded and you can go back and then read your story and look for questions and answer choices. So it says Winter Bees and Other Poems of Cold. So judging by the title already, I can tell it's not a nonfiction, it's poetry. How do tundra swans respond to the challenge of cold winter? So if I'm asking about something that's in the text, I'm going to be reading and looking for how they respond, means how do they react to the challenge of cold winter. That is a context clue. So I'm going to code it, context clue. Number 2 says, what does the word lull mean in Snake's Lullaby? So that is definitely a vocab. Look for it in the poem, Snake's Lullaby. Also look for it in a dictionary, see if it has multiple meanings, and see how it fits best. Because it only gives one word, guys, I would definitely use word replacement. That's a very excellent strategy to use. Number 3 says, the author of Snowflake Wakes describes snowflakes falling with their arms outstretched. What example of figurative language does this best give an example for? So I can already think, do snowflakes really have arms that outstretch? Or is that a type of figurative language where something acts like a human, but is not a human? So that's what you're gonna look for in your ELA notes. If you don't know what it is, you can ask me, you can look in your notes, you can also look these words up in a dictionary. So that is definitely a figurative language question. And your choices are simile, metaphor, onomatopoeia, and personification. Seems like an obvious choice to me, but hopefully you get it. Number 4 says, what topic is found in both Winter Bees and Snake's Lullaby. So that is comparing. What do they have similar, the same? What topic is found in both of those? So that would be a compare and contrast. You're looking for not, and I can guarantee, Guy, I haven't read it, but I know some of these are only for Snake's Lullabies. Some of these are only for Winter Bees. There's only one that was discussed in both, so definitely look at that. Number 5 says, based on the information in the passage, ding, 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 why do tree buds develop a tough coating? So that's another context clue, because it's telling me I am going to find that information in the text. So now we've coded all of our selection quiz questions. So now we're going to look at Cookie Science, which is our other half too. So this is what your reading document looks like. And like I said, I'll type it up and email it to parents. Only one you need to take a pic of. It's number 6. Selection quiz, pretty straightforward. And then Cookie Science into number 2 is a short answer. And make sure when you're answering those short answers that you're not just answering, it's also asking for evidence from the text. So it's a 2-part question. It's worth 2 points. So sometimes I can give you half credit if you just answer it. But I can't give you full credit if you didn't give me information from the text. So our story is Cookie Science. It looks like a procedural to me because it's asking me why are cookie chips crispy while others are thin and sticky. Maybe not procedural, but it's talking about how things are done. So definitely nonfiction. And it's talking about Cookie Science. Have you ever made chocolate chip cookies? Remember what goes into them. Look here. Right here is an example of what we were looking for with our colon. This is what goes into them. Colon, flour, fat such as butter and margarine, eggs, brown sugar. So remember, a colon is to offset a list. And I know we didn't have a chance to do a full lesson on that when we were actually in school, but I did do a lesson on it. Sorry about that. I did do a lesson on it when we were YouTubing. So I would probably divide my passage between paragraphs 4 and 5. That looks like a good spot to stop and read. I can already see some vocab questions. Okay, look. Anytime they put any pictures in the story, they're usually going to ask you about them. So really look and think. When we get to a question about the picture, we're only getting our information from the picture. It usually asks, like, why did the author put the picture in there? Or why would they include that graph or that diagram? Then we have, dual passage. We have a little part called Dad's Laboratories or Dad's Laboratories, however you pronounce it. So again, I would divide it probably right down the center. There'll probably be some compare and contrast between Cookie Science and Dad's Laboratories. So we're going to go ahead and code these questions so you're prepared. Number 1 says, read the sentence from paragraph 3 of the article. And look, the ones I love, they give me the sentence. A minor change to the ingredients or to the approach you use, like subjecting the dough to different temperatures in the oven, can determine how a cookie will turn out. Think about the root word ject. What does the word subjecting mean? So in case you've forgotten, ject means to throw. Think about project, to travel. You can also look it up in your dictionary, but that's definitely a vocab question. And again, I would use word replacements for those. Go back to that paragraph, and I'm going to write on paragraph 3, question 1. Okay, right underneath my word. So I can realize and understand its meaning based on context. Number 2 says, Cookie Science states that bakers are almost like scientists. So think about the similarities between baking and science. And you guys all know I love science. And in case you don't know, I do love baking. And there's a reason, because they're similar. Think about the steps we follow through when we do the scientific method, when we do labs. Think about the steps you have to follow through when you're baking. They're quite similar. So explain what that simile means. Tell me. Use details from the article. So remember, anytime they say the article, they're talking about Cookie Science. Dad's Laboratory is the poems. So number 3 says, read lines 3 through 4. He mixes and grinds them, blasts them in an oven aflame like volcano Kalawi, maybe Kalawi. What does the simile suggest about Dad's oven? So, if you're comparing it to a volcano, what do you think that would mean? And that would definitely be a figurative language. And the one on number 2 is also figurative language. Number 4 says, which theme is shared by both the article and the poem? So what do they have both in common? That's definitely a compare and contrast. And you can't answer this one until you read both of them. So you got to make sure you don't answer that one too quick. So I'm going to write question 4 at the very end of my Dad's Laboratories, and then I'm also going to write question 3 between lines 3 and 4. And remember with poems, these are your lines 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's question 3. Okay, it's important to read your text in context. Number 5 says, how do this illustration, that's the picture, the article, that's Cookie Science, and the poem, Dad's Laboratories, all connect to one another? So again, another compare and contrast, but you're looking at how they are all the same. And I can guarantee some of these are just about Cookie Science and Dad's Laboratories. Some may just be about the picture in the poem. What do they all have in common? Or how do they all go together? Number 6, this is why I asked you to take a pick, because you're going to put checks on what belongs. So mark the box that shows whether each statement refers to the poem, the illustration, that's the picture, or both. So if it is the poem and the illustration, you'll check both. If it's just the poem, you'll check poem. And I would just check these off. Go back and find them in the story. Did they happen? The last little part, and don't forget this is a part of our reading passage, is our revising and editing. So our revising and editing passage is guilty. Guitar or banjo. I'm reading that reverse. You can see it correctly, but mine's reversed. Guitar or banjo. So remember, what I like to do with revising and editing is I like to read it, because you're not going to code your revising and editing questions. They're all revising and editing. I like to read it and pretend that I'm reading something my sister wrote, and I'm trying to find all her mistakes, because she always thinks she's perfect. So when I read through, if I look, oh, they misspelled a word, I circle it and I write spelling. That helps me for when I go through and they say read sentence 3. I'm a great admirer of the banjo, but I've heard it can be very challenging. What's the correct way to write the word admirer? Okay, look it up in the dictionary. It's spelled correctly. Okay. Number 2 says read sentence 4. It seems that one principle, I'm pretty sure I would have circled that, between the two instruments is that banjos require more finger picking than strumming. What is the correct way to write the underlined word? Again, spelling. And then the last one is also spelling. So these are all spelling, no special skills that you need to know for revising and editing this week other than how to use a dictionary. Read sentence 7. I think banjo players produce the most marvelous sounds. So you're going to look up those words. You're going to make sure they're spelled correctly. And those are your 2 have-tos that you have to do. Those are the ones that are turned into me. This week is a full week, so you will need to do your 5. So you'll do those 2, and then you'll do 3 others. So some of your choices are our decoding page. So let's look at our decoding page. I believe it is final stable syllables. Let me get past our reading passage. So final stable syllables with ER. Remember, I like to call, that's R control, but I like to call him Bossy R. So he changes the sound that the vowel makes. So just which one, you're just putting the correct word that fits in there. And also spelling a little bit, because I can kind of look and see which one's spelled correctly. The police caught the burglar and returned the stolen goods. So which one is it spelled with, an AR or an ER? Okay, and when the E is upside down, that's a schwa. So it doesn't make the sound, it's making a different sound because it's followed by that bossy R. Your other choice you can do is you can again get online and do research on how different animals live and survive through the winter weather. Write a report, talking and present it to your parents about their most interesting facts of survival. And maybe find something that's a little different than just, a regular, like a bear or a seal. Maybe try to find something that's a little more exotic in how they survive. That would be cool. You can make an anchor chart comparing and contrasting how trees survive in the winter. You would use the poem and the information from your My Book on page 352. And remember, we talked about how trees become dormant. They don't hibernate, they don't migrate, trees can't go anywhere, but they do lose all their leaves and they go into a type of dormancy during the fall and winter weather. So fall's when it starts and winter's when it carries over and they don't have any. So compare and contrast those, or make an anchor chart, sorry. You could also, after reading Winter Bees, you could do your collaborative discussion. You could do it with yourself. You could FaceTime somebody. You could ask a sibling. You could talk to a parent and just discuss those questions together. You could also write your own poem about the nonfiction topic and include a nonfiction information like your My Book. And definitely get creative if you want. And then your last choice is to do the prompt. It's writing observations. That's going to be in your My Book on page 342 through 345. You're going to use the prompt and you're going to use those pages to plan. So I hope I answered all your questions with ELAR. Like I said, what I saw mostly this past week when I was grading was the revising and editing, was the colon. So definitely if you have a question like that, message me. I had a couple people message me this weekend and ask me about it, and that's not a problem. You can message me and ask me about it. I am trying to give the weekends to my kids, but if it's something like that, I don't have a problem giving you a call and letting you know, especially if it's something that's going to affect your grade. So let's look at math. So your math must-dos last week were topic 7 test over fractions and topic 12 test over geometry. So most of you did really well in the geometry. That's why I did a lesson on the fractions, because some of you struggled with it. Simplifying seemed to be a problem that we had a little trouble with, and just really answering what the question asked us. So some of you guys didn't read all the way through and see that it only asked for, you know, it was a not question, or it only asked for the numerator to be written in the griddable. So just be really careful with those things. But we'll definitely cover math a little bit more tomorrow. I like to do a separate math video because math's a little more involved. But let's talk about what you have. And if you've already started, that's fine. So your have-tos are not both topic tests. One is a topic test, topic 14. So go ahead and double check in your textbook that you have that. If you don't have it, I can scan it and send it straight to your parents. I can send it through email. I am currently working on trying to get y'all logged in. Some of you can log in to Pearson Realize and look at these, which is our textbook website. Some of you guys were added by a teacher a while back, and I'm still struggling with how to change your username and password. It won't let me enter you. But definitely check with me, because you may be one of the ones that you can already log in. So our first must-do is problem solving. So our problem solving are story problem questions. And like I said, we'll go through these and help set up equations tomorrow. We'll cover just math, but there are 10 questions, and you'll notice on the answer document, there's an additional page of extra practice. That's optional. That's for a bonus. And some of you guys did your social studies bonus, and it really helped your grade. So definitely make sure that if you can, do the extra bonus if you have time. Your other have-to is your topic 14 test. So let's look at that. And like I said, I have it right here, which means it's no trouble at all for me to scan it, both pages, and send it straight to your parents, and your parents can print it out. That's not a problem at all. So let's look a little bit about it. It looks like it's comparing during science experiments. Students were asked to compare different masses. Which comparison is not true? So that's a not question. It looks like measurement. Comparing measurements. So we're going to have to do some conversions, which means guess what? You need your math star chart. So if you want to start on this, you can already, but do know that I'll be doing a full lesson on problem solving 3 and topic 14 tests tomorrow. I like to do math separate because it's a lot more involved and you kind of want to go step by step. So overview of all of math, I'll go over. I've done ELAR, but also do science, social studies, and then tomorrow's just math. And then any other questions. If you have any other questions, you can comment on it and I can look at it. So let's look at those. That was the first half two. Those were the first half twos. Let me show you some of the other things you can do. So you can work on some number sense in your Envision book. That's your math textbook. You could do perimeter, area, and volume. So that ties into your topic test, because we had to do our measurement conversions before we did our perimeter, volume, and you can see it's not that bad. It's just a few questions. Let's see, 5 different stories. Write 5 different problems, each with the difference of 2 and 3/8. So that's kind of like a brain teaser. Like, can you come up with 4 different problems where the answer is 2 and 3/8? You could also go on a Brain Pop. Remember, the Brain Pop password on this is incorrect. It is not Lions 1, it is Vickers 1. So you could go on Brain Pop and definitely look, if you struggled with the prime numbers, which some of you did, you can definitely watch that short little video on prime numbers and take your short quiz. You could do your Lone Star 34, just that one page. That's Lone Star. There's a second Brain Pop on simplifying fractions. That would be a really good one to do. And then the last one is in our Think Up workbook. You will be working, it has a story with missing numbers. It's called One Warm Summer Night. You can calculate as you read the numbers and circle the number in each set of parentheses. So I might go through that a little bit with you, because it seems like maybe directionally you might need a little more guidance on that. Definitely keep working on your Imagine language, your Imagine math facts. I'm running those reports and submitting those every week. So I'm kind of seeing the kids that are doing their Imagine and the kids that are not. And it definitely, if you have extra time, do your Imagine. So that was an overview of math. Like I said, I'll do a full math lesson tomorrow. I don't want to make the videos too long, just because it can get a little bit overwhelming if I do all subjects at once. Not to mention Mila has a Zoom in just a little bit, so I have to make sure I'm off so that she can concentrate on her Zoom. Not that she's on my device, but that she can focus on what her teacher's saying. So science and social studies. So our half twos this week, and you guys struggled a little bit with EduSmart. I even went back and checked my answer key, because I was like, did I write down the answer wrong? So a lot of you guys got number 1 wrong, and I think the whole reason was because it was a not question, and you guys chose things. Maybe you went a little too fast and chose things that the Fennec Fox did use, and it was what he did not. I believe that was the issue. But I did go back and check my answer key just to make sure. So your half two is your concept attainment quiz. So these are vocab questions. You can absolutely look in your notes and look them up on in a dictionary or online in a dictionary. And then it just talks about identification. Identify how each adaptation helps the organism survive in a specific environment. So let's look at the first one. The white hair of an Arctic hare. So an Arctic hare is it's very similar to a rabbit, but has larger ears. Why would they want white fur? Well, if you're in the Arctic, obviously it snows a lot, so that would help them camouflage. So you could definitely, a spider's ability to spin webs. So let's look at, there are some notes here that you have on adaptations. This is teacher background. So whenever I teach lessons and I give out lessons to maybe other people in my grade levels, I definitely give them these teacher background notes, because this is going to help you. So you could just read through these information and decide, is it something that's a function, or is it a structure? Okay, remember, a function or different structures have different functions. Behaviors are different than traits. So just make sure that you're matching those together. If you have any questions, we may go into that one a little bit more. And I know Miss Muniz put together a really great list of YouTube resources, but if we need to add some science resources to help you with that, I will. And I will look through, so when I do math, I think I'm going to go ahead, I don't want to do it right now because I don't have it with me. Right this second, I don't want to leave you in the video. I'll add this to our going over for math, just to make sure you have the correct words that would go in this, okay? So I'm going to add this to my math pile. Yes, it's not math, but I can definitely give you word choices or maybe some other resources to help you, because I didn't want you to not be able to do that correctly. Your Week 25 social studies quiz is your must do for social studies. So some of you guys did it online, which is perfect. I had no issue grading those online. Most of you did really well. Just make sure you're reading the magazine before. And then a lot of you still did it on paper, and that's fine for you to do it that way. But do know that next week you're not going to have that quiz in your hand. That being said, if you wanted to look at it online and still write it down, that's fine. That's not a big deal for me to grade it that way. So let's look at some of the other things you're going to do. Those are your two have-tos. You can read so I gave a short little note. So these notes would also help you on that concept attainment quiz. On the difference between inherited traits and learned behavior. So inherited traits are things you're born with, like your eye color, like the, color of your hair. Those are all inherited traits. Learned behaviors are things you have to be taught, like how to ride a bike or how to tie your shoe. Those are all learned behaviors. So this PowerPoint is one I would have showed you in the classroom, and you'll go through and you can read it and highlight important information. So here it gives a really clear list of inherited traits. Eye color, skin color, hair color. Is your hair curly or straight? You would have never guessed, but my sister has like super, super natural curly hair, and I have super straight hair. Well, my dad's side of the family has really, really straight hair, and my mom's side of the family has really curly hair. It just happened. We were born that way. And so I can hardly ever get my hair to curl, and she can't make her hair straight. And that's just something we're stuck with. I can't learn. I've tried to learn. It doesn't work out so well. My hair just likes to be straight, so I just let it be straight. Dimples, freckles, and how tall you are. So my dad is not too terribly tall. I would say he's like 5'2", 5'3", and my mom's really short. My mom's like 4'11". So Miss Trink didn't have a chance much, just because of inherited traits to be very tall. Now my husband, his dad isn't very tall, but his mom is, and so he ended up being 6'2", but his brothers are short. Him and his sister are the only tall ones. So sometimes it's kind of just what you end up with. So learned behaviors are things like, so we talked about people learn behaviors like riding a bike, but what about animals? So a learned behavior is like whenever lions teach their cubs to hunt, to stalk. Yes, they're of course, inherited, they want to hunt prey, but they have to learn the procedure. So it's things like that. How to hide from predators. So it's all about learning a behavior. So this is a lot of great information. So what you would do with this is you just write a short paragraph in your science journal after you read through it about the difference between inherited traits and learned behavior. It's really just to give you, and it's got some little quiz questions you could answer just for teacher background, just for fun. Another fun thing that we have is a science art diorama. So a diorama, remember, it's got the half shoebox. You're going to create a diorama for an animal. So create an ideal habitat for your own animal creation. So this is a really fun one. If you're creative and you want to kind of do something that's not the same old. I know my kids are getting a little stir crazy. We've been, in this, quarantine situation for a while. This would be a really fun one to do with the younger siblings. Let's create a habitat diorama together and see how creative you can get. I'd love to see pictures of them. Actually, send me pictures because I know Mr. White was asking for maybe pictures of really great projects. So this would be an awesome one for you to send, and he would put it up on our Vickers webpage. So that'd be kind of cool. Another one we have is the STEMscopedia. So STEMscopedia is going to do the same kind of thing. It's going to give you the information on inherited traits and learned behavior. Fun thing about this one, it's got a really fun try now activity that I actually would have made you do in class. So you're going to put a coin on the back of your hand. You're going to tilt your hand so the coin begins to slide. As it falls, try to turn your hand to catch the coin. And it's just trying to do that back and forth. So that one's kind of fun to do. Just something a little different to do. And your other choices, you could do your vocab quiz for social studies and the point of view paper on the back. You could go on quizzes and search for animal adaptations, watch the video and take the quiz. And then your last one is a Think Up page, pages 197 through 198. It's just 2 pages, but if you need help with them, let me know. So I think I've covered all of the overview. What I'll be looking at tomorrow, remember, is we will go through the math lesson page by page, and I'll help you set up those equations, and then I will make sure that I get you some word choices for this, because this is a little vague as do they want camouflage, do they want mimicry, do they want adaptation, do they want function, or do they want you to just describe it. So I want to really make sure that I give you correct answer choices for those. My next thing to do once I'm done up here and uploading is I am going to create your answer documents, and I'm watching my dog through the window tear something up. I'm going to be creating those typed up so I can email them to your parents. Don't forget, check and make sure that you can get on Zoom for tomorrow. We're going to do a Zoom. I think I'm going to try to invite a couple special guests, maybe. We'll see. And it's tomorrow at 2. So tomorrow at 2 I have my Zoom. I'm going to send the answer documents. If you're missing anything, let me know so I can scan it and send it to you. And then, like I said, later this week, I'm going to be sending out those choice boards for the following week. And I'm just going to send them out 1 week at a time. I don't want to overwhelm us with so many packets. I'll just send them one at a time. I have them all saved on a file. So if you have any questions, let me know, comment. You guys are really good about commenting or sending me reminders saying, hey, Miss Trink, this is so-and-so. I'm messaging from my mom's phone. You know, can you answer this question for me? And that's perfectly fine. If it is late, I will still try to answer those if I don't get to them because it's later in the day, and I'll try to answer them first thing in the morning. I've been getting up, trying to get up early in the mornings when I do most of my schoolwork, because that's before my kids get up and I have to help them with their schoolwork. But I'm still available. Remember, my virtual hours are 9 to 11 and then 1 to 3. Tomorrow we're doing our 2 o'clock Zoom. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up probably about lunchtime is when I usually get my YouTubes to be able to upload them. So like right now it's, you know, right now I'm doing this video at 9. It usually takes about half hour for my videos to upload. So we'll do math and those science word choices. Let me know if you don't have those math pages. I can scan them and send them to you. If you're missing anything else, let me know. Other than that, I think we're good. Definitely, I'll be touching base with you this week and seeing if you have any questions. And definitely let your parents know. Do not be afraid to ask me questions. And we can work together, because I don't want you to let your grades fall. I want to make sure we're keeping our grades up. And if you failed anything below 70, absolutely send me corrections, and we'll go ahead and go through those corrections and make sure that your grade gets adjusted. So I do not input grades. I probably won't do them until this evening, but I will say, because I'm still getting a little bit of work in, a little bit of corrections in, but at any time. I know, you know, I give you 2 weeks to turn in corrections, you know, before I put them in as the, you know, the bad grade. So do make sure that you do that. I am inputting them, but I will adjust them at any time. Well, I think that's it for today. Please go and look at Miss Munice's videos. They're a lot more advanced than mine. Mine are just me talking to you. So there's something that you want to see there, and I will be sharing her YouTube resources because they're super awesome. And she did a lot of work finding resources for us to go with our lessons. So definitely check those out. I hope to send them to your parents where they can just click on the hyperlink and then just upload them to you. So I hope you have a really great Monday, and I hope I see all of you tomorrow at 2. Tomorrow at 2. Tuesday at 2 is our weekly class Zoom. And just remember, when we are on Zoom, that we're respectful. If someone else is talking, I'll try to let you guys stay unmuted, but last time we had a little trouble hearing when our friends were sharing. So do make sure that you are respectful during Zoom. We are appropriate. I am still grading conduct, so your conduct is based on your Zoom behavior. I haven't had any issues. You don't get in trouble if you're not on Zoom. Zoom's voluntary. And then also on you turning in all your choice words. So that's definitely your conduct grade, is all your choice words. Those getting turned in. I'll also be sending out probably later this week some counseling stuff. Don't panic. I know it seems like a lot, but it's actually 3 weeks worth of work. I'll see if I can break it up to weekly, but if it's in one document, I may just have to email the whole thing to you. It is optional, but it's some really good things to do, and they're fun. So I hope to see you all tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.